Welcome, welcome, everybody. I apologize for what I just posted in the chat. Next Friday is actually our last class, but we're getting close. So, in the chat, I just posted we have a question here. With a raised hand. Nicholas, if you just want to post whatever question you may have in either the Q&A or the chat, that would be helpful. Whatever questions you might have about any of the content that we have covered over the last few months, now is your time to ask, everybody. Now is the time to get those fingers to work and start utilizing the chat. So any questions you might have about nervous system stress, about anxiety, overwhelm, that sort of work, put it in the chat. Any questions you might have about particular tension, neck, belly, back, shoulders, feet, hips, whatever the case may be, now would be the time to put that into the chat. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Any questions you might have about rest, now would be the time. If you're just joining us, welcome to Community Fit. I'm James, your host, and this is Reset and Restore, the class all about nervous system work. Everything from nervous system proper work, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, all the way to rest and everything in between. For these last few classes, we're just going to have kind of a best of. We're going to revisit things and leave you with some ideas on rest, which is what we've been doing the last few weeks. Let me just check this really quick. So far, what I have on the chat to cover today is some blood pressure work, something that might help lower blood pressure in the moment. And let's see what we got over here in the chat. When trying to meditate, I lose focus and start thinking about stressful things. Any tips? Yes, we will talk about just writing myself a note here really quick. We will talk about meditation and some common misperceptions and some ideas on meditation. Keep the comments coming in. Anything you have today as we go. This class has always, from the very start, been designed to be more like a course. And it is so helpful that in order for you to get what you need out of the course, I need to know what it is you hope to get out of the course. If not, I just end up saying a lot of things that may or may not be really pertinent to you. So going forward, feel free to use the chat. You can also put it into the question and answer, and we can get all of that information from there as well. For today, you're just going to need a comfortable place to sit. As I said, we're going to go over some of the work we have been doing, do a little revisit, and move forward from there. Here is another question at the very, very top. What has been the single most useful thing that you have learned in the last 3 months in this class? What has been something profoundly interesting, profoundly life-changing, an important piece of the puzzle? What has been important? Let's see, we also have something in here. I have trouble getting back to sleep after waking up in the middle of the night. Okay. Got it. Single most profound thing you've learned would be really, really helpful to know. What was really important for you? It also just lets me know like you're paying attention, which is also really, really helpful to know. The self-hypnosis was something new for me and very helpful. Thank you so, so much, Kim. I appreciate that. So keep utilizing the chat. I have at least 3 points here. Great, another self-hypnosis. Yeah, self-hypnosis is really, really good for rest. So we're going to revisit some of that today. To get started, let's go over some of our nervous system regulations, some of the stuff from the nervous system toolkit. information we were covering back in April. As always, I'm going to do what feels really important for me to do today. I'm going to add in one thing that is not new for a lot of you who've been here for a while, but that is really, really helpful and has been clinically studied to help reduce blood pressure in the moment. So there's a breathwork technique all for that. We're going to talk about that here in a moment because we had a question about it. So as always, I'm going to do the nervous system warm-ups that I need to do today. If these are ones that you need to do, follow me along or do the ones that you need to do. We've covered a lot of them by now. Okay. We also have, I like the tip for grounding yourself by looking around and naming items. Great. Thank you for helping us to keep moving and trying new ways to stay in balance. Awesome. Okay. So the first nervous system warm-up for me today is going to be physiological sigh, because it's one of the best. It's a double inhale followed by a single exhale. Inhale, inhale, exhale. We're going to follow it up with the particular breathwork technique for reducing blood pressure. We'll get to that in a moment. So take your inventory. What do you notice in your body? What do you notice in the cognitive body? What do you notice in the emotional body? And just taking that inventory. What feels important? What is some stuff you would like to shift, or at least like to get some space around? And what are some things you love? Again, the scent you're after is, how do I feel more of, notice more of, perceive more of the things that I would like and less of the other stuff? And if I can't move away from the other stuff, how do I create capacity to be with what I can't shift? I always think of it, how do I create internal fortitude to change the things I can't, and the resilience to be with the things that I can't change? That's what we're after. Okay, inhale, inhale, exhale. We're going to do 5 of them together. Four more. Last 3. Last couple. And then just notice. Notice any shifts, notice any changes. Now, the next breathwork technique, again, if you've been with us for a while, this one is not new for you. And this breathwork technique that has been clinically proven to reduce hypertension and in particular blood pressure is 4-7-8. This is Dr. Andrew Weil, who's a world famous naturopath from down in Tucson. This is one of his breathwork techniques. It's an inhale to a count of 4, holding the breath for a count of 7, exhaling for a count of 8. I have been aware of this breath for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. And when I first learned it, there was a lot of like alternate nostril breathing mixed in with it. If you're familiar with yoga, you know what alternate nostril breathing. What I know now is that Dr. Andrew Weil took out a lot of those practicals from that, like breathe in here, breathe out here, because telling people how they need to breathe, too much counting, too much holding, too much this is or that has been clinically proven to increase hypertension and anxiety in people as much as it does decrease, meaning that I can give the same breath work technique to a population, and 50% of that population is going to have a positive benefit from it, and 50% of the population is going to have a negative repercussion from it, because it has everything to do with our perception of the exercise. So let's demystify 4-7-8. In its truest form, 4-7-8 is an inhale to a count of 4, holding our breath for a count of 7, exhaling for a count of 8. It doesn't matter the cadence. You can do a fast count or a slow count, as long as that cadence stays the same through the 4, the 7, and the 8. Now, having said that, again, sometimes putting too many numbers on a breath work can cause some stress for people, can actually do the negative. So what is 478? 478 is a short inhale, a noticeable pause, and then a long exaggerated exhalation. So if 478 feels like too much for your nervous system, know that there's no good in this for you. And instead, do the physiological sigh or do a short inhale, a pause, a long exhalation. If you are someone particularly interested in reducing hypertension and blood pressure, let's go into 478. I'm going to do the counting. You do the breathing. Remember, inhale 4, hold 7, exhale 8. If you can go in through the nose, out through the mouth, all the better, although do you. So inhale like a normal human being. Exhale like a normal human being. Inhale again. Exhale to prepare. Inhale to a count of 4, 3, 2, hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slower. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe like a normal human being. And then compare and contrast. Which one felt better to you? Physiological sigh or 478? Neither one is better. Neither one is worse. When we are trying to reduce something like blood pressure, long, exaggerated exhalations are the way to go. Put the emphasis on the exhale. It cues some of the internal structures within the heart to actually, 478 felt better for me. It cues the blood flow within the heart, cues some of the cilia within those structures to move in certain ways that actually tell your blood pressure to go down and your heart rate to slow down and to relax. So all of this, again, is based on physiology. So thinking long, exaggerated exhalations, super, super important. Let's from there go into another one that people seem to enjoy, and that's orientation practice. Orientation practice is a grounding practice, and that it brings you into the moment. It's also a nervous system practice. Your nervous system is designed to intake information all the time. In fact, let's start off with orientation this way. I've been talking, you've been sitting here, you've been sitting in whatever space you've been sitting in for 15 minutes. Start to listen. Close your eyes and listen. Listen to all of the sounds in your space. What's the closest sound you hear to you? What's the furthest away sound? And as you continue to listen to the sounds, think to yourself, oh my goodness, I have selectively been editing out most of these sounds this whole time. Paying attention to whatever else I'm paying attention to, I have been editing out unconsciously these sounds. My nervous system has been picking up on them. It just hasn't been conscious. My system, your system, likes conscious information. So as you open your eyes and you start to look around the room, think to yourself, what have I not been paying attention to in this space? What can I now notice in this space? What's in front of me that I've just been ignoring? What's behind me that I'm ignoring? Above me, around me. And then what am I noticing kinesthetically? What do my clothes feel like on my body? Is there a breeze in this room? Like right now, there's a fan going. I can feel a breeze. What temperature is the room? All things that you've likely just been editing out unconsciously. It's like we're just going to pay attention to that. So yes, on the surface, it's grounding, but it's also soothing to the nervous system. Now, let's move on. One of the questions we had pop up in the chat is, I have a hard time, I can fall asleep, but I have a harder time staying asleep. That was me too for several years. The short answer is going to be magnesium, is the short answer. And magnesium can be consumed in a number of different ways. And always, if you would like to be prudent, before you ingest any supplement, before you resource any supplement, any other nutrient, consult a physician, because I'm not your physician. Having said that, the magnesium is something that many of us are deplete in. And the reason it fits really coincident with this conversation is magnesium is a vital nutrient for nervous system wellness. And so when we have experienced stress, distress, anxiety, overwhelm for prolonged periods of time, it essentially begins to deplete our nervous system of that vital magnesium nutrient. And so what ends up happening, especially at nighttime, especially if you're waking up around like the 2 to 3 a.m. hours, is that's when cortisol starts to spike in our systems. And that's, we want that. We want cortisol as a wake-up chemical. So cortisol is where we have like adrenaline and epinephrine. Those are your short-term stress hormones, amongst other things. That is the lion has proverbially walked into the building, and those stress hormones help me activate and mobilize to get out of there. Cortisol is has some amazing benefits and some amazing drawbacks. Cortisol, we'll talk about in terms of stress. When I experience long-term stress, overwhelm, anxiety, I will have a buildup of cortisol because it is that low hum stress chemical. It is something that in the body will help keep more fat on the body because that's an energy source. And when I'm stressed, my body is worried about having enough energy to get through the day. So it will hold on to fat. And so you've got some like belly fat or something like that, that's generally speaking coincident with cortisol. And it will deplete the magnesium storage in the body. And then over time, that actually, for lack of a better word, frays the nervous system. And that magnesium is what's needed to help repair the nervous system. It also has a lot to do with gut health. So adding in magnesium will be helpful. As I said, cortisol is also a wake-up chemical. It is one of the things that actually wakes us up in the morning. So you need cortisol. It is important. It is not a bad chemical. Having too much of it is not advantageous. So consuming magnesium, you can either take it via pill or you can take it topically. And it is my understanding that actual topical magnesium is more bioavailable than consumed magnesium. What does that look like? Epsom salt baths, magnesium scrubs on the body. anything like that. So if you can if you're having a hard time sleeping at night, if you can try taking something like a Epsom salt bath or a salt bath, whether that's a full bath or even just doing a foot bath, see where that goes. I also started taking magnesium pills, and I do a half dosage. So instead of taking one in the morning and one at nighttime, I just take mine at nighttime. And I will tell you, it's been a huge change in my sleep cycle, like almost immediately. It actually helps me stay asleep. I don't have a problem falling asleep at night. That's a different thing. But if you are someone who wakes up in the middle of the night, that might be something interesting to add in. Also, if you are someone who wakes up and perseverates, so wake up and then I just start thinking, that has never been me. I just wake up and then I just would kind of lie there. But if you are someone who perseverates, who can't shut off their brain when they wake up in the morning, couple of things. Micro movements, super, super helpful. What does that look like? Well, lying in bed and kind of like moving your feet against your sheets will help be like a movement distraction. Changing positions in bed. So that might be if you're a back sleeper, flipping over onto your belly. If you're a left side sleeper, maybe on your back or on the other side. The other big thing is just getting up and out of bed. That is the number one helpful tip for nervous systems. So whether you are experiencing some version of nervous system dysregulation during the day or in the middle of the night, if you feel anxious or stressed, perseveration, again, that could be it, or just emotional distress or physical distress, to pick yourself up and out of that place and move somewhere else. It could just be going and changing rooms for a moment. What does that look like at nighttime? Well, I wake up at 3 a.m. Maybe I try moving my feet. Maybe I try physiological sigh would be another one. Maybe I try a 4-7-8 breath. And if none of those are working, maybe I pick myself up and I move into another space. Pro tip, do not turn any lights on while you're doing that. The minute lights come on, it shuts off a sleep cycle. So that can be any version of light. That's most definitely your cell phones, your iPads, your computers, overhead lights, night lights, any of that, no go. So trying to keep as much light off in the house. And that's true for sleep cycles in general. So if I'm trying to rest, I want as little light on, especially overhead light. Candles, whole other story. If you could live by candlelight at nighttime, you will sleep better. The minute you have overhead light on, especially overhead blue light, that's a wake-up alarm for your body. So if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, I'm just going to use the restroom, I turn the bathroom light on, blah, 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 and then try to go back to bed, you're going to have a much more difficult time than keeping the lights off and going to the restroom that way, or having some sort of like red light in there. So amber colored light would be another helpful tip there. From there, we had a question pop up. What does grounding mean? Grounding has a lot of different meanings. What we're in the context of this conversation, what grounding often means is that you feel centered, you feel at home in your body, you feel rested, versus kind of chaotic or disembodied or anxious energied. But grounding actually has a definitive meaning. Grounding actually refers to grounding to the earth. It could look like barefoot walking. It could be sitting, literally sitting on the ground, which is also an important thing. This class does not really get into connection into the earth that way, but there's many, many case studies on why being barefoot outside is really, really helpful for a lot of different reasons. So for this context, think of grounding as just feeling settled in the body, the opposite of feeling anxious, feeling at home in your body versus disembodied. Before we get onto meditation, let's just have a little bit of a breath technique. You choose. Do you want to do a physiological sigh or do you want to do a 4-7-8? Then go and do 3 rounds, physiological sigh or 4-7-8. and then just notice. The last question of today was about meditation and about how to, the exact question was something along the lines of every time I try to meditate, I start thinking about stressful thoughts and that interrupts my meditation. Number one, meditation is a life sport. Meditation is meant to be practiced over years and decades. It is not necessarily something that you practice for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of years, and then get good at it. It is something that is meant to be a life sport. You are never going to be done practicing it. And I think once we start to realize, oh, this isn't, I'm it is actually a false idea to think that I should be good at this thing at any given time, right? I think that sort of opens everything up. The whole point of for the confines of this conversation, we'll say a cognitive meditation, whether that's a mantra meditation, that's some sort of like transcendental meditation, even like a breath work meditation, is not to be absent of other thoughts, but it is to notice, oh, I have an intrusive thought coming in. How long does it take me to notice that I'm thinking about the thought? How long does it take me to get back to the meditation? So freeing yourself up of having to get it right, I think, is number one. And then number two is when you recognize those intrusive thoughts, that is literally the point of a meditation, of a cognitive meditation, is to notice that the thinking pattern has changed from something that you wanted. Notice that it has changed, and how quickly can you get back on board with whatever style of meditation it is that you're choosing to practice. Now, having said all of that, it has been, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now that my meditation practice has transitioned over to a somatic meditation, which is really what we practice mostly in my classes. So for somatic meditation, we are not concerned with the thought process coming through. It's like a whole other beast. What we are concerned with in somatic meditation is noticing, where's my nervous system? What nervous system state am I in? This is that whole, what is my body noticing? What is my thought noticing? What is my emotional body noticing? And then, can I do some of these breathwork techniques? Can I do some of these somatic interventions to feel something different? Can I notice that change? So what we've really been practicing throughout the totality of our experience here is meditation. It is a mindfulness practice, but it is a body-based practice. And the reason my personal practice shifted over to that is these are the things that count. When I am in conversation with someone and I notice that my nervous system gets angsty, or I notice that the vibe of the moment has changed, I can covertly do a breathwork thing. I can covertly just look around for a moment. I can covertly shift my nervous system, which in turn shifts the experience altogether. If I am solely practicing a cognitive meditation, I don't have that ability in the midst of a conversation. I can't go, let me pause. I need to do 2 minutes of mantra meditation and then I can get back to you. Like, it's really, really difficult to fit that style of work in. Not saying it's not valid, not saying that I don't have a deep, deep history with that. It is a different thing. So you got to kind of weigh, where am I at? And if it's about meditation, what version of meditation is going to get me my biggest bang for the buck? And then if it is a cognitive meditation, to go, well, what is the expectation here? And then what is, and how much grace is there within that? And then what am I actually practicing within that? Is the practice to never have that intrusive thought, or is it to notice that that intrusive thought has happened? And then how do I correct as quickly as possible? So hopefully that has helped answer the questions that came up today and still provided you with a little bit more depth to what it is we've been doing. As we've discovered, everyone, today, we have one more class, and that will be next Friday. So whatever questions you might have between now and then, please bring those up. And if no questions come up, we'll just do a revisit of what we've been doing. So thank you so, so much, everyone. Appreciate it. I appreciate you too, Alicia and Raymond. Thank you guys. And I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.